The sun lazily streamed through the thick curtains, painting the room in amber hues. Igor frowned, turning away from the light in annoyance. Early mornings were not his thing, especially after the previous day, endless conversations with his wife about the future, which seemed hazy and uncertain to Igor. His wife, Svetlana, a beautiful and ambitious woman, had become obsessed with the idea of inheritance in recent months. Her mother, Antonina Petrovna, owned a vast fortune, a network of thriving restaurants, expensive houses, and substantial bank accounts. And now, Antonina Petrovna, an energetic and independent woman, had suddenly fallen ill with a serious ailment. Igor loved Svetlana, but her persistence on this matter was starting to irritate him. He felt like a pawn in a complex game where money was the prize and her relatives were the players. "We need to act, Igor," Svetlana would say almost every day. "Mom is getting weaker, and if we don't do something now, everything will go to that frivolous Irina." Irina, Svetlana's younger sister, her complete opposite. A flighty artist, living for the moment and not thinking about the future. Svetlana believed that Irina didn't deserve the inheritance, that she would simply squander it on her whims. Igor understood Svetlana's logic, but his conscience was bothered. He didn't want to interfere in family matters, especially in this way. But Svetlana was relentless. She convinced him that it was in the best interests of their daughter, little Sofia. "Think about Sofia's future, Igor. This is for her. We need to ensure she has a decent life." Igor sighed, realizing that he was trapped. He loved Sofia more than anything in the world and was ready to do anything for her. But the thought of deceiving Antonina Petrovna disgusted him. And so, one day, Svetlana suggested a brilliant plan to Igor. "Your father, Nikolai Ivanovich, is a very charming and charismatic man," Svetlana began, looking at Igor with a sly glint in her eyes. "He could befriend Mom. Gain her trust. Convince her to rewrite the will, leaving everything to Sofia." Igor was stunned. He couldn't believe that Svetlana was suggesting that he use his father for their own selfish purposes. "Sveta, this is madness. Are you suggesting I set up my father?" Igor exclaimed. "Why set up? Just help Mom make the right decision," Svetlana retorted, pretending not to understand his outrage. "And besides, it's all for Sofia. Don't you want your daughter to have a secure future?" Igor was silent, fighting conflicting feelings. On the one hand, he understood Svetlana's arguments. On the other hand, he was disgusted by the very idea of deception and manipulation. Nikolai Ivanovich, Igor's father, was a simple and kind man. He had worked as an engineer in a factory all his life, working honestly and helping people. He never aspired to wealth and lived modestly. Igor loved his father very much and respected his principles. Igor knew perfectly well that Nikolai Ivanovich would never agree to such a plan. He was too honest and principled for that. But Svetlana didn't give up. She persuaded Igor, convinced him, pressured him. She talked about Sofia's future, about the opportunities that would open up for her if they received the inheritance. She painted pictures of a luxurious life where Sofia would lack nothing. Igor weakened under Svetlana's pressure. He realized that she wouldn't give up until she got her way. And he eventually gave in. He called his father and invited him to dinner. Nikolai Ivanovich came to visit his son and granddaughter. He was happy to see Igor and Sofia, but he sensed some tension in the air. Svetlana was too kind and attentive, which was out of character for her. During dinner, Igor told his father about Antonina Petrovna's illness and her vast fortune. He spoke haltingly and hesitantly, feeling a telltale blush creeping up his cheeks. Nikolai Ivanovich listened attentively to his son, without interrupting. He realized that Igor was hiding something, that he was finding it difficult to talk about it. "Igor, what do you want to tell me?" Nikolai Ivanovich asked when Igor fell silent, staring at his plate. Igor sighed and told his father about Svetlana's plan. He spoke quietly and guiltily, feeling like the ultimate traitor. Nikolai Ivanovich listened in silence, his face becoming increasingly grim. When Igor finished, he sat for several minutes without saying a word. I will not do this, Igor, Nikolai Ivanovich said finally, in a firm voice. Igor expected this answer, but still felt relieved. I understand, Dad, Igor said. You must understand, Igor, that it's wrong. You can't use people for your own selfish purposes. You can't build your happiness on someone else's misfortune, Nikolai Ivanovich said. Igor nodded, agreeing with his father. I love you, Dad, Igor said, hugging his father. And I love you, son, Nikolai Ivanovich replied. That evening, Igor felt a huge weight lifted from his shoulders. He realized that he had done the right thing by refusing Svetlana's plan. He didn't want to betray his father and his conscience. Svetlana was furious when she learned of Nikolai Ivanovich's refusal. She shouted at Igor, accusing him of weakness and cowardice. She said that he had missed the chance to secure their daughter's future. Igor listened to all of Svetlana's reproaches in silence. He understood that she was upset, but he wasn't going to change his decision. Sveta, I will not do this. I don't want to live with guilt, Igor said in a firm voice. Svetlana was silent, looking at Igor with hatred. She realized that Igor wouldn't back down. In the following days, the relationship between Igor and Svetlana became strained. They hardly spoke to each other, avoiding eye contact. An atmosphere of coldness and alienation filled the house. Igor felt lonely and unhappy. He loved Svetlana, but realized that their relationship had cracked. He didn't know what would happen next, but he felt that he had to change something. One evening, when Sofia was already asleep, Igor decided to talk to Svetlana. Sveta, we need to talk, Igor said, entering the living room where Svetlana was watching television. Svetlana turned off the television and looked at Igor challengingly. About what? Svetlana asked. About us. About our relationship, Igor replied. What's wrong with our relationship? Svetlana asked, pretending not to understand what Igor was talking about. Sveta, don't pretend. You know that everything is wrong. We've become strangers to each other. We're constantly arguing and fighting. We no longer love each other, Igor said. Svetlana was silent, hanging her head. I know that you're upset because I refused your plan. But I couldn't do otherwise. I don't want to live with guilt, Igor said. And I don't want to live in poverty. I want our daughter to have the best of everything. I want her to lack nothing. Svetlana exclaimed. I want that too, Sveta. But not at such a cost. I don't want Sofia to grow up in a family where there's lying and deception, Igor replied. Svetlana cried. I don't know what to do, Igor, Svetlana said, through tears. I don't know either, Sveta. But we have to decide something. We can't live like this anymore, Igor replied. Igor and Svetlana talked for a long time that evening. They talked about their feelings, about their fears, about their hopes. They tried to understand what had gone wrong in their relationship and how it could be fixed. In the end, they came to the conclusion that they needed time. Time to sort themselves out, to understand what they really wanted from life. They decided to live separately for a while to think about their future. Igor moved out of the apartment and stayed with his friend. Svetlana remained in the apartment with Sofia. In the following months, Igor and Svetlana rarely saw each other. They only called each other about matters concerning Sofia. Igor thought a lot about his life, about his relationship with Svetlana, about his future. He realized that he had made many mistakes, that he had allowed Svetlana too much, that he hadn't defended his principles enough. He realized that he wanted to be happy, that he wanted to live in harmony with himself and those around him. He realized that money wasn't the most important thing in life, that the most important things were love, family, friendship, honesty, and integrity. Svetlana also thought a lot about her life. She realized that she had paid too much attention to material values, that she had forgotten what was really important in life. She realized that she loved Igor, that she didn't want to lose him. She realized that she was ready to change to save their family. One evening, Svetlana called Igor and invited him to dinner. Igor came to Svetlana's apartment. He was glad to see her. During dinner, Igor and Svetlana talked about many things. They talked about their mistakes, about their regrets, about their hopes. They apologized to each other for all the bad things that had been between them. "I love you, Igor," Svetlana said, looking Igor in the eye. "And I love you, Sveta," Igor replied, hugging Svetlana. That evening, Igor and Svetlana decided to give their relationship a second chance. They decided to start all over again, with a clean slate. They decided to build their relationship on love, trust, honesty, and mutual understanding. They moved back in together and started living together. They were happy. And what about Antonina Petrovna? She was slowly but surely recovering. Her condition was improving every day. And, contrary to all expectations, she wasn't going to die. And one day, when Igor and Svetlana were visiting her in the hospital, Antonina Petrovna suddenly started talking about the inheritance. "I heard that you're all worried about my will," Antonina Petrovna said, smiling slyly. "Irina, of course, is a flighty girl, but kind. And you, Sveta, are too pragmatic. But I love both of you." Igor and Svetlana exchanged glances, feeling uncomfortable. "I decided to do it my way," Antonina Petrovna continued. "I'm not going to leave all my money to one of you. I want both of you to work together, to develop my business." Antonina Petrovna bequeathed Svetlana and Irina equal shares in her business. She stipulated that they must work together and make all decisions jointly. If they couldn't agree, the business would be sold, and the money would be divided between them equally. Svetlana and Irina were shocked. They didn't expect such a turn of events. At first, it was difficult for them to work together. They constantly argued and fought. But gradually they learned to compromise and respect each other's opinions. Svetlana realized that Irina wasn't that frivolous after all. She saw in her a talented artist and a creative manager. Irina, in turn, saw in Svetlana a strong and confident woman capable of making difficult decisions. Together they were able to take Antonina Petrovna's business to a new level. They opened new restaurants, launched new projects, and increased the company's profits. Sophia grew up in an atmosphere of love and understanding. She saw how her mother and aunt worked together and supported each other. She learned from them honesty, integrity, and the ability to get along with people. Antonina Petrovna was happy to see how her daughters were working together and how her granddaughter was growing up. She realized that she had made the right decision by leaving them her inheritance. And Igor? Igor was happy that he had done the right thing, that he hadn't betrayed his conscience. He was happy that he had been able to save his family. He was happy that he was living in harmony with himself and those around him.